Have you ever stopped to think about the impact that envy has on your life? Maybe you don't even realize it, but it's there, hidden in small comparisons, in silent desires to have what the other has. It seeps into our emotions, consumes our energy, and gradually traps us in a cycle of dissatisfaction. Envy makes us forget who we really are. It steals our peace, takes us away from what really matters, and makes us look at life with eyes of scarcity, as if we never had enough. And the worst? She is never satisfied. The more we give into it, the more it grows, until it becomes a weight that we carry every day. But the truth is that envy doesn't have to be a prison. There is a path to liberation. And perhaps it is closer than you think. Today you will understand about envy, how it works, if you are being an envious person, if others are jealous of you, and how to protect yourself from this evil that has destroyed humanity for several generations. Envy is an ancient feeling, rooted in human beings since the beginning. It does not arise from big events, but from the small comparisons we make on a daily basis. It is that feeling of wanting what the other has, be it success, recognition, or even happiness. And it is not limited to material objects. It can be the lifestyle, the way someone is treated, or even a simple quality that we admire, but that we lack. But let's understand this better. Envy differs from jealousy and ambition in very clear ways. While jealousy is the fear of losing something we already have, envy is born from the feeling of not having it. Ambition, on the other hand, can be a healthy desire for growth, as long as it doesn't push us into constant comparison with others. Ambition motivates us, while envy paralyzes us, imprisoning us in a constant sense of insufficiency. Historically, envy has always been viewed with a certain contempt. In ancient civilizations, she was considered a weakness of character. In ancient Greece, for example, philosophers such as Aristotle saw it as a feeling that corroded the soul. In the Middle Ages, envy was associated with one of the 7 deadly sins, reinforcing the idea that it distances us from what is virtuous and good. Interestingly, despite being a widely criticized feeling over the centuries, envy has also been used as a tool for reflection. Many cultures have treated it as a mirror, something that could help us better understand our own insecurities and desires. After all, if we feel envy, what does it reveal about us? What are the gaps that we are trying to fill? Although it is a feeling that is often denied or ignored, it has deep roots. It is born from places that we do not always recognize immediately. But have you ever wondered why, exactly, we feel jealous? What leads someone to look at the life of the other and desire what they have, as if it were the solution to their own frustrations? The answer to this lies within us, in the subtlest layers of our psyche. Envy arises, in large part, from our own insecurities, from a sense that we are not good enough. Maybe it's the comparison we make from an early age, at home, at school, at work. We are taught, from childhood, to measure our worth based on others. And when we believe that we are falling behind, when we do not meet the expectations that we place on ourselves or that society imposes, envy appears. But this feeling does not arise alone. It is fed by the world around us, especially in current times. Think about social media. We are constantly exposed to idealized versions of the lives of others. The Instagram or TikTok feed is full of moments of success, paradisiacal trips, perfect bodies, and all of this can amplify our sense that something is missing in our lives. The reality is that we see only a cutout, a selected and polished fragment. But when we compare our reality with these images, the feeling of insufficiency grows, and with it, envy intensifies. There are those who say that envy is a thermometer for our unfulfilled desires. It appears when we feel powerless, as if we are trapped in a place where the achievements of others are unattainable for us. And, interestingly, this can happen in various spheres of life. It could be the promotion of the coworker who always seems to be one step ahead. Or that friend who apparently has a perfect life, while yours seems stagnant. And of course, the celebrities and influencers, who seem to live in a dream reality, unattainable for most of us. But do these examples of success really show us what we want? Or do they just blind us to what we already have? The truth is that, most of the time, envy reflects more on us than on the other. When we envy someone, we are projecting our own desires, fears, and insecurities onto them. Maybe it's not exactly what she has that we want, but the sense of accomplishment that we believe she lives. And that's where the crux lies. Envy doesn't tell us about what others have, but about what we believe we lack in us. It silently invites us to reflect on our own values and to understand why we place so much weight on the achievements of others. Are we distancing ourselves from what really matters? Are we forgetting to look inward? It, when ignored or fed, has a profound and silent impact on our lives. It goes beyond being a simple temporary discomfort. In fact, it seeps into our emotions and affects the way we see the world, how we interact with people, and most importantly, how we see ourselves. On the emotional level, envy acts like a slow poison. It erodes self-esteem and creates a constant feeling of dissatisfaction. You begin to feel more and more distant from who you would like to be, believing that the success and happiness of others diminish your own worth. This emotional state generates frustration, sadness, and often a sense of inadequacy. Mental health begins to be affected, as constant comparison fuels feelings of anxiety and depression. It's like living with a shadow by your side, always reminding you of what you don't have or aren't. And when envy spills over into behavior, the consequences can be even more damaging. It can turn healthy relationships into minefields. Have you ever noticed how, sometimes, that friend who has always supported you starts to move away, or conversations become more tense when there is a conquest on one side and a silence on the other? Envy creates invisible barriers, generating resentment and alienating people who should be closer. The worst thing is that, most of the time, this distancing is not intentional, but is the result of a series of small actions motivated by the discomfort of seeing the other prosper. In addition, envy can lead to destructive behaviors. Petty attitudes, gossip, emotional sabotage, these are all signs that envy is taking over and pushing us toward decisions that, in a state of balance, we would never make. It leads us to want to pull the other down, instead of seeking our own ascension. Not only does this destroy relationships, but it also undermines our ability to build true connections. And then, as if that were not enough, envy creates a vicious cycle. The more we let ourselves be carried away by it, the more it is strengthened. We begin to desire what others have, believing that it will bring us satisfaction. But the reality is different. The more we envy, the more we distance ourselves from a full and satisfied life. And, contrary to what we think, the happiness of having what the other has is momentary. Soon, a new object of envy appears, and the cycle begins again, always leaving us with the feeling that something is missing. Envy is a feeling that goes beyond internal emotions. It has the power to impact our most important relationships. Often, we don't even realize that it is present, silent, infiltrating the bonds we build with friends, family, and coworkers. And the most tragic? It can break these ties irreparably. Ever heard stories of friendships that fell apart for no apparent reason? Sometimes, a friend's success, whether it's a promotion, a romantic relationship, or even a personal achievement, triggers deep discomfort. This can generate a subtle distancing, made up of small attitudes. Suddenly, what was companionship becomes competition. What was once shared joy turns into a burden. And so, friendships that seemed indestructible are torn apart by envy. What's worse is that this breakup often occurs without anyone talking about the real problem. No one openly admits, "I'm feeling jealous." And because of this, these relationships often have no chance of rebuilding. The same happens within families. Have you ever witnessed siblings or cousins who start to distance themselves because of each other's achievements? Envy, in the family environment, can be even more painful because it touches on old wounds, competitions, and comparisons that come from childhood. When these feelings are not talked about, resentment grows, and the result can be emotional distancing, or even the definitive breaking of ties that, in other circumstances, could be eternal. But the envy does not stop there. It infiltrates our work environments, sabotaging entire teams and undermining projects that could be promising. In an ideal scenario, a coworker's success should be seen as a shared victory, a cause for celebration. However, what often occurs is the opposite. Envy causes a person's growth to be perceived as a threat to others. Toxic attitudes begin to emerge, gossip, sabotage, or even lack of collaboration. Instead of a team united towards a common goal, we have people trying to stand out at the expense of others. And in the end, what could be a growth environment becomes a place of hostility, where trust is eroded. The impact of envy is so profound that it can be an omen of something even greater, social dysfunctions. When a feeling like envy is not recognized and faced, it spreads. On a large scale, this can trigger conflicts that go beyond the personal and affect entire groups. Think of societies deeply divided by inequalities. Envy can be the catalyst for tensions that, if left unresolved, explode into social, political, and even economic conflicts. On a macro level, envy is a force that can destabilize entire communities. Overcoming envy is not an easy task, but it is essential to live in peace with yourself and others. So far, we've explored how envy can erode our emotions, our relationships, and even our mental health. But the big question that remains is, how can we free ourselves from this feeling that often seems uncontrollable? The first step is simple but powerful: recognize envy when it arises. Most of us tend to deny that we feel jealous, either out of shame or fear of admitting weaknesses. But, like any emotion, it only loses control over us when we stop denying it. So when you feel that discomfort when you see someone's success, ask yourself, why am I feeling this? What does it reveal about my own insecurities and desires? Often, envy is less related to the other and more to what we believe is missing in our lives. This process of self-analysis allows us to unravel the true cause of discomfort and offers us the chance to act on it consciously. In addition to introspection, an effective strategy for dealing with envy is to cultivate gratitude. It may sound cliché, but the daily practice of recognizing the good things in our lives changes our perspective. Instead of focusing on what is missing, we start to value what we already have. This not only decreases envy, but also increases our overall well-being. Gratitude makes us realize that while the neighbor's grass may look greener, there are many flowers growing in our own garden. And by nurturing this feeling of gratitude, we also develop something even more important: empathy. Empathy allows us to celebrate the achievements of others, rather than seeing them as a threat. When we can genuinely rejoice in the success of a friend, colleague, or even someone we don't know personally, we break the cycle of envy. The truth is that we all face battles and challenges, and someone's success is often the result of a lot of effort and overcoming. By recognizing this, we come to see the victories of others not as something that diminishes us, but as an inspiration. Stories of overcoming envy can serve as beacons, showing us that it is possible to transform this feeling into something positive. A striking example is that of people who, instead of being consumed by envy, use this feeling as fuel for their own growth. Imagine someone who, when they see a colleague being promoted at work, feels a pang of envy. But instead of letting herself be overwhelmed by this emotion, she decides to use this opportunity to reflect on her own trajectory. Perhaps this person realizes that they also have ambitions, but they have not yet taken the necessary steps to achieve them. This realization may be the missing impetus for her to dedicate herself more diligently to her own goals, instead of wallowing in resentment. Another inspiring example is the people who have turned envy into collaboration. Instead of competing, they chose to support and learn from those they admired. This kind of attitude creates a virtuous cycle where everyone grows together. Often, when we offer genuine support for the success of others, we end up attracting to ourselves opportunities for growth that we would otherwise never have achieved. Dealing with envy takes courage, because it forces us to confront parts of ourselves that we prefer to hide. However, the payoff is immense. When we manage to overcome this feeling, we free ourselves from a burden that prevents us from appreciating life in its entirety. Peace of mind comes when we accept that everyone's journey is unique, and that someone else's success doesn't diminish our value at all. In the end, the key to overcoming envy lies in redirecting our focus. Instead of constantly comparing ourselves to others, we need to learn to look inward and recognize what we have already achieved, the qualities that make us unique, and the possibilities that are yet to come. It is a process that takes time and practice, but it leads us to a much lighter and more meaningful life. After all, the real victory is not in having what the other has, but in being the best version of ourselves. And someone's success doesn't diminish yours. In fact, it can be the fuel you need to achieve your own dreams. The choice is in your hands. Have you ever stopped to reflect on the difficulties you face daily? Life, with its challenges and uncertainties, is a constant opportunity for growth. That's why I'm going to leave you with 2 more amazing videos, which can help you dive into the depths of knowledge and personal development, arming you with the wisdom you need to face each obstacle with resilience and clarity. Just as the Stoics teach us, every adversity is a chance to become stronger and wiser.